بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
More than enough.
إلى السفر يا نور البصر، إلى السفر يا نور البصر، يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر، يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر. إلى السفر يا نور البصر، إلى السفر يا نور البصر، يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر، يا ثمار عمري يا علي الأكبر.
Ahmed. Thank you all for joining in on our 9th night of our Ashura program. We're going to start off with Hajj Ahmed Hamdan with our Quran recitation. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها. قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى. إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى. إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you, Hajj Ahmed Hamdan, for beautiful Quran recitation. Today I have a short poem dedicated to Ahlul Bayt. O Ahlul Bayt, O the grandkids of Prophet Muhammad who fought for our religion today. O Zainab bint Ali alayhi salam, who lived her life in pain. She fell apart when she lost her brothers Hassan and Hussein. O Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam, who was kissed on the mouth by his grandfather, knowing he O Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, who was kissed on the neck by his grandfather, knowing he will be beheaded, that his destiny, there is no other way. The name that brings tears in our eyes in the middle of the wrong, gathering his companions to pray and get ready for one last battle, knowing he would leave his daughters orphaned and astray. Praying that the night prolonged its time, there is no other day like yours, Hussein. Body with no head, 72 were dead. I wish when you stood alone, my hand to you I could extend. How is it fair to live a life I was not able to serve you, yet all my wounds you tend? The righteous leader of Islam, who showed us the true definition to submit. Your companions, your people, inshallah we all commit. You gave us freedom, taught us to promote the good and forbid the evil. Went through trials and tribulations, now we march in your name as a nation. Master Hussein, hearing me call your name, centuries went by and nothing was the same. Your name that gives chills through our veins, forever you will remain engraved. O Hussein, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I would now like to welcome Brother Ali Beydoun for our English lecture. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
تزكية لقلوبنا وتطهيرا لنفوسنا. عطروا مجالسكم بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أمير المؤمنين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدتي ومولاتي يا زهراء. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There seems to come a topic of much interest, especially to the people in their late teens, early 20s, and then even from a young age now. You see at 15 and 16 years old, there's people who are starting to get these types of ideas and they want some answers. A lot of people, they come to the majma and they ask the sheikh these types of questions. And what are they asking? They're asking about marriage. They're asking about a spouse, what they should look for in a marriage, what they should look for in a spouse. And they want some answers to these questions. And the big thing that always comes and they're complaining about is the cultural practices that are displayed, especially here in our community and places in the Middle East, that are being presented to them when they come to choose or pick a spouse or even propose for marriage. In the past 20 years, there's been a big shift. 20 years ago, it wasn't even acceptable, for instance, for people in their early 20s, 19, to be seen trying to get to know a girl like that. No, it was much different. 20 years ago, according to one scholar, you could not find even marriage courses or even discussions on these issues. The rights of the husband, for instance, there was no discussions about this. The rights of the wife, are you ready for marriage? And then choosing a spouse. You'd rarely find scholars or discussions or classes about these types of issues, although they are very important to society. Recently, alhamdulillah, that's changed. A lot of discussion is coming about upon the subject. You see it on YouTube and even in the masajid. And why? Because there's bound to be people out there who are looking for this type of information, and it's important that we discuss it. In Islam, it's recommended to get married young. How young are we talking? Are we talking 16, 17? Maybe not that early. A person who wants to get married must be psychologically ready. They need to ask themselves, why am I getting married? So this is the question when you want to figure out if you're psychologically ready for marriage. Why am I getting married? There are those out there who are getting married purely for simple desires of the world. And this is the reason that's pushing them to marriage. They have a burning in their heart, for instance, and they feel like they need to get this release. So they go and they think that marriage is going to be the answer to this. But what happens after in terms of marriage? After the person who is looking for desire and they enter the marriage, they get what they want. What happens after? That it proves that they're not psychologically ready because the marriage is not going to be successful if this is the reason they're getting married. Others want to get married because of peer pressure. They see their friends, they're getting married one after the other. They're starting to think, am I ever going to get married? Is my time going to come? And then they even end up sometimes settling for less than what they should because of this type of peer pressure. They just want to get it over with. And although these factors are important, you know, your age and how old you're getting in terms of now I want to get married or not, this is important. Desires are a big important factor as to why someone would get married. But there has to be more in terms of why a person decides to get married. Many divorces occur in today's society because the person entering the marriage was not psychologically ready. They did it only for desire and only because of peer pressure. And after a few months, they want to go back to their life again. They get married, they think this isn't what I signed up for. I want to go back to my life. You know, they thought they were expecting more and they weren't there prepared, mentally they weren't prepared for the life of marriage. So yes, in Islam it is recommended to get married young and early, but the person what we need to understand is the person you will marry will share with you a future, a goal, a house. It's not just about you anymore in this moment. Now you're talking, it's two people. When it's just your brain, it's easy to make your own decisions. You go and come whenever you want. You don't have to worry about anyone else. But now in this case, it's two people. So 50-50 in this, some people say. A person also needs to know that they are signing up for when they take the step for marriage. You are signing up for something, and it's something new that you may have never done before. There may be things that you've done before that you can't do anymore. Some of us, we like to stay out with our friends late. We sleep in till 1 p.m., 2 p.m. When you're married, things change, and in your life, things are going to change. Especially the lads, the brothers. We tend to be living a much more loose life, especially in our single days. And this really changes when you get married. So this is something you have to think about. Can you still live a single type life when you get married? No. As it is to get married young, the intention behind the marriage is what's important. Why you're getting married. This is the biggest question you have to ask yourself. Why am I getting married? Do you see yourself wanting to build a future with that person who you're looking to get married? Or are you just ticking that checkbox that everyone wants to go through in life, which is marriage? Does that mean everyone who is young is not psychologically ready? Do we all fall under the same umbrella if we're 20 or under? Are we all not ready for marriage? No. There are those who may be in their late teens, 19, 20, 21. They're attending college, or they found some work in some company. Those who are capable of taking care of themselves, they know what responsibility is, and they're living the adult life. Some of us, we don't live the adult life that early. Some of us, maybe until we're 26, 27, before we start experiencing the adult life. But others, at the age of 19, 20, and 21, they have already been living the adult life, and they're there psychologically, and they're ready to take on the responsibility of marriage. So if you have all these checked off, then why not get married? Of course, go ahead. It's actually recommended to get married, not only young, and why? Because you're preserving half your faith by doing so. You're saving half your religion, you're completing half your faith when you get married. And it's very recommended. Allah starts to bless the person in that moment after they get married. And there's a scholar who even recommends, he says, say you meet someone at university and you feel psychologically you're ready. You can get engaged and grow together throughout your school career. I mean, it doesn't have to be something where we look at it as so scary. I met a girl, maybe in just 6 months, 7 months, I have to marry her right away, for instance. But you can get engaged. This is an option the scholar gives. Says you guys can get engaged, grow together, learn each other, and then you can take on the next step in a few years even. What he says is you want to build the foundation before making that step. It's very important, especially in this day and age, that we build the foundation in relationship with the person we look to get married before we take on that step. And then we go on to another important topic. Education. It's very important to have a spouse, and you pick a spouse who's educated. You don't want anyone who's ignorant, for instance, or who's unintelligent. But does that mean that a degree or how much money a person has in the bank should be the deciding factor? Should that be the end all? If they have a degree, if they have money, khalas, I should take them, this is the person? Not necessarily. Because why? The youth of today, we have so much pressure on us, right? We're told to be pious individuals. We're told to be religious. We're told to be good human beings. But then when it comes to marriage, what are they looking for? They're just looking for money and a degree. They no longer care about who you are on the inside. This is the first thing they want to know. Do you have a degree? And how much money you have in the bank? Does Allah agree with this type of thought? Does Allah in the Holy Quran say, yes, this is the way, if someone has money and they have a degree, marry them? No. Allah says, and wed the singles among you and those who are fit among your servants and maids. If they are poor, God will enrich them from His bounty. God is all-encompassing, all-knowing. So Allah is giving an order here in the Quran. He's telling those who are able to help the younger people get married, he's ordering them to wed the singles and to help them. And then even in this case, if there are those who are there and they're ready to get married and they're not financially stable, it's the parents. The parents should help in this case. The relatives, I know a lot of people, and I've spoke with them, and they tell me a lot of stories in the Yemeni community that when someone who wants to get married, say they're 19, 20, they're still going to school, all the family pitches in and they help this person get married and continue school. And they keep supporting them until they graduate and then they find a good job. This is the way, especially in this day and age, where even if you want to get a good job, you're making $15 an hour. That's not going to be enough to buy a house or rent a house or really make enough to where you're supporting you and your spouse. Even if you guys are both working in some cases, it might not be enough. So yes, the family should help, like the Quran says, and wed the singles among you. I even know someone who's very close to me. He really did not have much. He came from Lebanon. He did not have much in his bank account, but he met a girl and they really got along and they wanted to get married. At first, the father of this girl, he saw this guy doesn't have much. He's not in school right now. He's just working a regular job. He was asking his daughter, he's telling his daughter, are you sure? And she was very sure. She was adamant, I really want to marry this guy. So what does the dad do? The dad gives this guy a job. He finds him a very good job. And after he does that, he supports them. And every time there's something they need, he gives them. And now if you see them, mashallah, they're buying their own house. And they're very young. They're not old. They're in very early 20s. They're buying a house and they're having a very successful marriage, alhamdulillah. Even a baby on the way in some cases. So this is when the Quran tells you what the singles for a reason. Allah knows that the youth need help. And He knows there are those who are ready to be married at an early age. They might not be financially ready. But He even says, if they are poor, God will enrich them. So this is the blessing of being married. Allah will enrich you. And then we ask the question, for these certain fathers, certain parents who are interrogating the person who's coming to the door trying to get married. It's kind of an interrogation, how much property do you have? What's in your bank? What's your degree? It's like you're getting a simple interrogation. Did these fathers start out millionaires? Did they have all the property and all the money in the bank when they got married? No. If you look at it, most of them started the same way, with nothing. And then Allah blessed them. And Allah gave them, and they slowly started climbing to the position they are. But they're putting a very big responsibility on the youth that they may not be able to handle yet. Instead, they should support them. And then, of course, though, we can't just say that a father should just give his daughter or give his son to any random person. No. It's natural for parents to be concerned about the financial security of their children. You don't want your child to be starving, for instance. You don't want them to be in a house not knowing if they're going to eat tomorrow or if money's coming in, or this guy, for instance, is, out of a job. This is something that could scare a parent, and rightfully, they have the right to be scared in this case. But that should not be the only concern of the parent. It shouldn't just be about the money. This is something that's very big and very important, but it seems like that's all they're making it nowadays. It shouldn't be everything. It also shouldn't just be about material, like we were saying. You actually have to judge a person on a second level, the spiritual. And this may be even more important than the money. You have someone who's young trying to completely have their faith. They come to you, they're good people. They're good people. They come from good families. Give them a chance in this case. Don't just judge them on the materialistic, but look more deep into their heart and help them. And now we move on to another very important topic. What does Islam say about getting to know someone or approaching them? As in, is it halal? Is it haram? You see someone you like. What does Islam say about this? You see them at work, you see them at university, wherever it may be. What does Islam say? Is it halal to message someone even privately or to walk up to one and ask to get to know them? Is this something that's okay in the religion of Islam? Especially in this day, in Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, it's very easy. You even see it. It's just a DM, direct message, and you're able to ask someone for their number or tell someone that you think for instance, they're pretty, you want to get to know them. So is this okay in Islam? In fact, according to a certain scholar, he says, there is nothing in Islam that forbids two people getting to know each other with the intention of marriage. So if the intention is marriage, and you're a brother or you're a sister and you find someone that you are looking to get to know, if the intention is pure, the intention is there, the intention is marriage, Islam doesn't forbid something like this. It's not wrong, for instance. Culture may be different. In our culture, there are some parents who would not accept this. If a daughter came home, she told her dad, I met someone at university. This might be something that, is very frowned upon in culture. But in Islam, not necessarily. It's because we're bound to meet people. You're bound to meet someone who catches your eye throughout your days. Some of us were a little bit younger here, but when you get into those late teens, 20s, 21, 22, you're bound to find someone who catches your eye. So it's important to know how to go about this and what you should do. Islam says that it's absolutely okay, and what it tells you, this specific scholar recommends, is that if you do see someone and you're in college, university, or work, you're psychologically ready, go up to them. It says go up to them and ask them. Tell them you want to get to know them. There's nothing wrong with this. The worst that can happen, he says, is rejection. And in life, we have to learn to deal with rejection sometimes. So there's nothing wrong with it according to Islamic beliefs. And then a very important question comes. Do we need parental approval to get to know someone or to go up to them? This specific scholar says, according to Islam, not necessarily. Especially if the intention is pure, you may not necessarily need parental permission just to go up to them or to ask them. Or you see a girl, you don't go up to her and tell her, hey, can I have your dad's number right away? Like you might, it's okay if you go up and you ask her for her number and get to know her first to even see if this is something that you want to go forth with. As long as the bounds of halal and haram are kept, and we all know what those bounds are, and we see in today's society that those bounds are being stepped on left and right, and it's because people don't know the steps. They don't know how to do it the halal way, which is why they fall into the haram. And there's nothing wrong with keeping communication. You meet someone in your life, there's nothing wrong with you talking to them, texting them. And I've seen in some cases where the brother or the sister, the brother usually, he comes over to the house and they sit with the parents and they talk and they get to know each other. This is something that's very healthy, especially when you're getting to know a sister. But of course, the most respectable thing to do is to get parental permission. And to ask them, out of respect, it's good. You go meet the girl's family, you meet the guy's family. It's something that's very recommended to do. And the reason is because I do know a person, he met a sister and he talked to her for like about 2 years it was. They got, started to fall in love, you can say. And they had that very close connection with each other. And then he decided after 2 years, now I want to go and meet the family. What happened? He knocked on the parents' door. The dad said, no, I don't like this guy. So, and that was the end of it. They had to end up break up and they weren't able to continue the relationship. So it's very important. Bring the parents, get them involved as early as possible, as it leaves you so you're not wasting time in that case. Because in some cases, and even in some cases, especially for our sisters, the father, I know we may think that the fathers, they're very old-fashioned. The father usually has a good opinion on the brothers. He was a brother himself. So when he's sitting with the brother, and sometimes not interrogation necessarily, but with certain questions, he's able to get to the inside of the man, because the truth is every man knows how to get the attention of a girl and how to even, for instance, get her to fall in love with him, right? But not every man is pure on the inside. And similar with the other side, maybe not all sisters also. So the parents, they're usually able to look through that barrier and get more information and help you. So it's good to get the parents involved. And now we talk about another very big issue that I've heard about and people have discussed with me about. Marrying outside of your culture. Sometimes there's certain people, they meet people, especially in university, there's so many different types. They want to marry someone outside of their culture. And it's very understandable that there's certain parents that they want to keep their daughter or their son in marriage with the same type of culture. And it's because, you're going to be able to understand each other better. But at the same time, We shouldn't discriminate based off, what country a person's from or what color of their skin is. This is borderline racism even. And we do know that racism, it's a spiritual disease, and it's very prominent in our society. And a lot of people tell me all the time, good Muslim brothers, just because of the color of their skin, for instance, they're black, a dad will say no. They're lovers of Al-Muhammad, they're good people, they're believers, they're Muslim, but a father will say no, purely based off the color of their skin. And this is racism. And what does the Quran say about something like this? The Quran says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, O mankind, we created you from a male and a female, from different races and tribes, that you may know one another. The best among you in the sight of God is the most righteous. God is all-knowing, well-experienced. Does Allah say the best amongst you is the Lebanese? No. The best amongst you is the Iraqi? No. The best amongst you is the white? No. Allah says the best amongst you is the most righteous. And righteousness is measured with taqwa, your iman in Allah, and how much belief you have in Allah, and how close you are to the religion of Islam. And if we want to continue onto another subject, what should we look for when choosing a spouse? This is very important. I have a few things listed here. Of course, there's more, but number one, something we just mentioned, taqwa. Strong faith in Allah. And taqwa is not just if someone prays and fasts. No, has to be more than that. Are they humble? Are they generous? Are they conscious of Allah at every moment? Or just when you're around, or when their parents are around, when their family's around? This is something very important. Are they completing their prayers, or are they just praying here and there? Is it something they're putting on as an act just to attract you? Or is this something that's really found in their heart? Are they really good Muslims, pious Muslims? This is something you should investigate in, especially when you're getting to know someone. And then someone's morals, their principles. It's good to look at the family, see how they were raised, how the house was raised. This is usually a good indicator of how that person will be, although not necessarily. There are some people who may have mothers and fathers or relatives that are not very, on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, we can say, but they could be different. They could be on that path and very good pious people. So always judge the person by how they are, and not necessarily exactly by what you see in their family. And then another important thing you should look for. This is not the most important thing, but it is important according to many scholars, beauty. It's a thing that someone should really look for. You should not marry someone who you don't find beautiful. You don't want it to be a struggle to look at them every day. You want someone who's going to be a light for your eyes, someone who you love to look at. So beauty is important. It's not as big as they make it seem nowadays, where beauty is everything, but it is a very important thing. Especially since it's the first thing you notice when you walk up to someone, especially in public. You don't know what's on their heart when you first walk up to them. You're usually looking at their exterior, which is why it's so important. It has to attract you. There has to be that connection between you guys. But the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So if you find someone and you think they're beautiful, and then your friends say, "Hey, why you're so beautiful? Why are you picking someone who's so ugly?" No, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. As long as you think they look good. Many marriages fail because the issue, they don't see their spouse as beautiful. So there are marriages out there that fail because of this thing. And number three, financial security. It shouldn't be the only thing, but at the same time, you don't want to marry someone who is completely has no job, no money, no nothing. You want to have someone who's ready to take on the responsibility of marriage, especially considering Islamic tradition says a girl raised in a certain way deserves to be in a marriage where it's the same. So brothers, if you found a girl in her whole life, she's wearing Gucci, Chanel, whatever it is, don't expect her to come and start wearing, non-name brands in your house. No. If this is how her dad raised her, same thing considered for the men. If this is how her dad raised her, you should expect that this is the way you're going to have to treat her in the long run. But there are many stories where girls and guys married someone for their money, and it turned out that this person, with all the wealth they had, was not able to provide them happiness. They didn't even know how to communicate. They didn't know how to keep a conversation with them. So it's not the end all. There's more than that, but it is very important. Beauty and wealth are important, but nothing is as important as the long-lasting as taqwa and principles. So taqwa and principles really, really key in on these two things. If a person has these two things, they might be the one for you. Especially if we look on the day of Ashura, there was a certain couple, they were newlywed. They saw Imam Hussein's caravan walking by. They asked who he is. They explained, they converted. They were Christian, they converted. They joined his caravan. And then what happened? The 10th day of Muharram, Imam Hussein and his family are fighting. They're dying. Then this husband, his name's Wahab, he wants to set out to fight. But his wife, she's like, we just got married. Don't go out there. You know, she has love for him. She doesn't want to see him in pain. She doesn't want to see him hurt. They're newly converted. So she says, don't go out there. Until what? Until she sees Imam al-Hussein alone on the plains of Karbala saying, هَلْ مِن نَاصِرٍ يَنْصُرُنَا? Is there anyone out there to help us? That's when she came and she told him, go out there and fight. Her taqwa in that moment, it was shifting, but what was true on the inside was she did have it. It was there. So this is something we should look for. And what did she do when she saw that her husband went out and was fighting and was about to die? She went out and fought with him. She was actually one of the first female woman to die on the plains of Karbala. She died alongside her husband. This is something you want to look for. Is the spouse you're looking to get married, will they die for you? Are they willing to encourage you to go out and do something that might not seem good on the outside? Are they willing to encourage you to go do this? These are sifat, things we should look for in spouses. I leave you today with this dua from the Holy Quran. If you really want to have a good spouse, good kids, this is a very good one. Do it every day in your prayer and qunut. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Our Lord, grant us delight in our spouses and our children, and make us a good example for the righteous. We pray to Allah, inshallah, it makes it easy on our youth to save half their faith and gain their marriage, inshallah. And for those of us who are young, may Allah grant us that the long life, so that way we're able to get married, inshallah. And may Allah guide us to the right path, as-sirat al-mustaqim. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you, Brother Ali Beydoun, for a very enlightening lecture. I would now like to welcome Hajj Ahmed Hamdan for the English Majlis. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله، وعلى آلك الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي وابن مولاي حسين يا قتيل العدا ومسلوب العمامة والرداء يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. Tonight is the 10th night of Muharram. Tonight is the eve of Ashura. A very tragic night, a very sad night, the last night for the 72 martyrs of Karbala, the last night for brothers to be with their sisters. The last night was for sisters to be with their brothers. The last night for fathers to be with their children. The last night for mothers to be with their children. The last night for little Sukaina to be with her beloved uncle Al-Abbas. Indeed, a night never to be forgotten. A night to shed more tears, a night to do more ma'tam. Mothers are sitting with their children. Layla is with Adil Akbar, Farwa with Al Qasim, Al Abbas alayhi salam, like every night was guarding the camp. Where was Imam Hussein? If somebody asked, Imam Hussein alayhi salam had gathered all his friends and companions in his tent. My friends, my companions, tonight is the last night. Tomorrow is the day of Ashura. Tomorrow is the day of Shahada, martyrdom. None of us will be spared by Yazid's soldiers. Imam Hussein alayhi salam continued, my friends, my companions, you have suffered enough. There is still time to save your lives. I escape in the darkness of the night. I will have no objections. I will forgive you. Go, my friends, go, my companions. Imam Hussein blew the candles up. There was total darkness. Anyone could have escaped without being seen or embarrassed. After a while, Imam Hussein lit the candles. How many ran away? 1, 2, 5, 10? No one. Why did they not run away to save their lives? Because my fellow Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they had recognized the truth. Because they knew Imam Hussein alayhi salam was right. Because they knew Imam Hussein alayhi salam was on the true path. Because they knew their sacrifice would save Islam. Imam Hussein was lucky to be blessed with the true friends and best companions, faithful, truthful, and pious. Our greetings to those 72 martyrs of Karbala for their great sacrifice for Islam. Yet when we come to this night, we remember one of the infants. Tonight is the night of Ali al-Asghar, the small son, the infant of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the little soldier and the youngest shaheed in the battlefield of Karbala. Ashura came to the land of Karbala one by one. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, friends and companions were martyred. Aum, Muhammad, Qasim, Al-Abbas, Ali al-Akbar went to the battlefield and they were martyred. By Asr time, Imam Hussein alayhi salam was left alone. The time had come for Imam Hussein to go to the battlefield. Imam Hussein said, Fi aman Allah to everyone. Just have this picture in your mind. In your heart, think of Imam Hussein alayhi salam loneliness at that time, at that moment. The time had come for Imam Hussein where he held his sword Zulfiqar on his waist, mounted Zuljanah, his horse. Imam al-Hussein rode his horse to a small mount, then he called out loudly, is there anyone to help me? Is there anyone to help the grandson of the Holy Prophet? With this call, the grandson of the Holy Prophet was given one last chance to Yazid's men. The men who called themselves Muslims, the followers of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Hypocrites. That's what Yazid's men were. No one answered Imam Hussein alayhi salam last call. If you ask yourself why they didn't ask the call of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, because they were not attached to their Imam of their time. Yet they were attached to this life. They haven't seen the reality behind that call. That if you don't answer that call, you will be disappointed. Maybe you're not going to be seen disappointment in this life, but you will see that on the day of judgment. Yes, Imam Hussein alayhi salam turned around and returned to his tent. Zainab, your brother is still alive. Why are you crying? My brother Imam Hussein, when you called out, is there anyone to help me? Ali al-Asghar, Abdullah al-Radi' was trying to say, Imam Hussein went to Rabab. Ali al-Asghar was on her lap. He was crying and Rabab was trying to comfort him. Imam Hussein alayhi salam picked up that baby, Ali al-Asghar, and whispered in his ear. Ali al-Asghar stopped crying. He looked up at his father and smiled. Al-Rabab, he told Al-Rabab, I'm taking Ali al-Asghar to the battlefield with me so that I can get some water for him. What did Imam Hussein alayhi salam whisper in Ali al-Asghar ear? What made Ali al-Asghar stop crying and to smile? Imam Hussein alayhi salam had whispered to his son, my son Ali al-Asghar, do you want to come to the battlefield with me? Asghar, do you want to show your strength on the battlefield? Come, let us go, my little mujahid, my little soldier. Al-Rabab changed Ali al-Asghar clothes. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam carried Ali al-Asghar to the battlefield. It was very hot. Ali al-Asghar was thirsty. Imam al-Hussein covered baby Ali al-Asghar with his aba'ah to protect him from the scorching sun. Yazid's men saw Imam Hussein alayhi salam approaching with something in his hand. Look, Imam Hussein is coming with the Quran. He has no one left to help him. With the help of the Quran, he is hoping to win. Imam Hussein alayhi salam walked to Yazid's soldier by moving his aba'ah. He uncovered Ali al-Asghar. He held Ali al-Asghar high with both hands and said, "O soldiers of Yazid, you feel I have offended you, but what has this little child done to you? His mother's milk had dried up. He has not had a drop of water for 3 days. He is dying of thirst. I beg you to give water to this innocent little child." Not one of Yazid's soldiers brought any water for Ali al-Asghar. Once more, Imam Hussein begged, maybe you think that when you bring water for this child, I will drink it too. I will put this child on the ground. You can come and give him water yourself. Imam Hussein alayhi salam placed Ali al-Asghar on the burning sand of Karbala. Ali al-Asghar lay quietly on the hot sand of Karbala. He turned his head and stared at Yazid's men. No water came for Ali al-Asghar again. Imam al-Hussein picked up Ali al-Asghar and said, my son Ali al-Asghar, my darling, you are too young to fight with the sword or a spear. My little mujahid, my little soldier, you are a grandson of Ali. Ali al-Asghar, fight your jihad with your tongue. Little Asghar stuck his dry tongue out and moved it over his dry lips, looking towards Yazid's men. He fought the jihad with his tongue. The little soldier shot a strange arrow. His dry tongue, it hit the hearts of Yazid's soldiers who had children of their own. They became restless. Some stirred, crying. They spoke among themselves. Imam Hussein is saying the truth. What has this child done to us? Why is he punished like this? Let us give him some water. Umar bin Saad, may the curse be upon him, got worried that his soldier will turn against him. The little soldier's spy was very effective. Little Ali al-Asghar was fighting jihad his way. Umar bin Saad ordered his best archer, Harmala, what are you waiting for? Silence the little child. Don't you know he is the grandson of Ali? Hurry, show your arrow before it is too late. Harmala aimed an arrow at Ali al-Asghar. Ya mu'minuna, ya mu'minat. A small arrow for a little child. No, an arrow, no. Not with one head, not with two heads, but with the three sharp heads. If you ask yourself why an arrow with the three heads for such a small child, my fellow Imam Husseini, you will not be able to stop crying when you hear what happened next. An arrow with the three sharp heads flew across the desert of Karbala. It was heading for Ali al-Asghar. Imam Hussein saw the arrow coming. He covered Ali al-Asghar with his arms. The arrow reached Imam Hussein. The arrow went through Imam Hussein's arm and lodged into the tiny neck of Ali al-Asghar. Ali al-Asghar died instantly. They said he started flying like a bird in the hands of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Poor Imam Hussein, the poor father who came to get water for his little child. Instead of water, Ali al-Asghar got an arrow in his neck. What shall Imam Hussein do now? What shall Imam Hussein do now? Imam Hussein gently pulled the arrow from Ali al-Asghar tiny neck. My fellow Imam Husseini, put your hand on your heart and imagine the scene of father removing an arrow from his child's neck. What a tragic scene. Blood gushed out from Ali al-Asghar neck. A voice came from the ground. No, Imam Hussein, do not let Ali al-Asghar blood fall to the ground. Otherwise, no crops will ever grow from this earth. Imam Hussein looked up at the sky. A voice came from the sky. No, Imam Hussein, do not let the blood gush towards the sky. Otherwise, no drop of rain will ever fall from this sky. What shall Imam Hussein do now? What shall Imam Hussein do now? The sky is refusing. The earth is not happy to accept Asghar's blood. Imam Hussein alayhi salam wiped Ali al-Asghar blood on his face. Imam Hussein started walking towards his tents. He saw Ali al-Asghar's mother Rabab standing by his tent. Mother waiting for her baby. Imam Hussein thought, how can I face Rabab? What shall I tell her? How can I tell her that her baby has been martyred without water? How? 7 times Imam Hussein went forward and then turned back saying, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We are from Allah and to him we shall return. He finally reached the tent when Rabab was standing. Rabab, come and take your Adil Asghar. Your little soldier has died for the sake of Allah. أين المنادي وعليام ورضيعا. Yes, Rabab took her little child, Ali al-Asghar. She hugged him and cried her heart out. Come with Rabab, come with me, Rabab. Enough, Rabab. Let us bury our baby Asghar. Imam Hussein and Rabab walked to the back of the tents. Imam Hussein dug a small grave with his sword. The Zulfikar placed Ali al-Asghar in the small grave. Al-Rabab small. Al-Rabab placed Ali al-Asghar in the small grave. My fellow Imam Husseini, why should we not cry tonight? Why should we not do ma'atam tonight? Have we ever heard of any other father and mother digging a grave and burying their own child? Where can Imam Hussein get water to sprinkle on Ali al-Asghar's grave? There is no water to sprinkle on Ali al-Asghar's grave. Imam Hussein sat by the grave crying. Tears poured on the grave. Ali al-Asghar grave was sprinkled with Imam Hussein tears. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. والله يا ابني يا العليك حرقوا قلبي والله يا ابني من البكي ما اشوف دربي والله يا ابني وشكوتي للباري ربي لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل بيت محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. وليدي يا عبد الله شلون سابح بدمك لا لبن يحصل لا ماي بس دمعات امك. وليدي يا عبد الله شلون سابح بدمك لا لبن يحصل لا ماي بس دمعات امك. ساعة ونشف دمع العين عبد الله يا ابني عبد الله يا ابني عبد الله يا ابني ناديت بدمع الهمال يا الريحة ميدي وهاك اشرب ماي الدلال واقعد يا وليدي. ناديت بدمع الهمال يا الريحة ميدي هاك اشرب ماي الدلال واقعد يا وليدي وتروى يا نور العين عبد الله يا ابني عبد الله يا ابني عبد الله يا ابني. انت يا زهر الدنيا عمري وايامي شلون اشرب واتهنى بماي وقلبك ضامي. انت يا زهر الدنيا عمري وايامي شلون اشرب واتهنى بماي وقلبك ضامي. وليدي شن سقيتك ما يلعن يا ابني ما يلعن يا ابني. وليدي يا عبد الله شلون سابح بدمك لا لبن يحصل لا ماي بس دمعات امك. ساعة ونشف دمع العين عبد الله يا ابني. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم، وفزتم والله فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم لتعجيل الظهور أموات الحضور، شفاء المرضى السين المنظورين، ومن أوصانا بالدعاء خاصة لروح العلماء والشهداء، لأرواح موت المستمعين والحاضرين. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مشفوعة بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you, Hajj Ahmed Hamdan, for a beautiful majlis. And then I do want to make a friendly reminder that we're giving away free backpacks with colored pencils, notebooks, and school supplies. So it's going to be back there, and then all are welcome to take any if you'd like any for your relatives, siblings, whatever it may be. And then we will be here tomorrow starting at 7 o'clock. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.